Broadway leading man here with me today. This is my pal Douglas Sills, as many of you I'm sure know. Since I'm here in New York, that was the first call I made, like, hey, can I come talk to you? And so he invited me over to his rehearsal here at the Ripley Greer Studios. Is that where we are?
C'est vrai, monsieur.
It's a beautiful place.
Thank you. I own it. I've just refurbished the...
So you're rehearsing for?
It's a new version of Old Calcutta, all naked.
I was surprised when I looked in the rehearsal.
I've been, I just, no. I'm doing a benefit, and a benefit for the Actors Fund. And it's kind of an interesting thing. It is the first staging of a Christmas piece that was written for television in the 60s by Bob Merrill and Julie Stein, called Mr. Magoo's Scrooge, or Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. And they were in Los Angeles waiting for the green light on Funny Girl. And they put their talents to work. I'm not sure exactly how the project came to be, but so there's all these beautiful songs that occur in this animated piece that isn't aired anymore, and so no one has heard or seen. And the idea is, I think DreamWorks Studio owns the rights, and DreamWorks approached the Actors Fund knowing that they do these stage things, and they said, would you like to do it? So, long story short, next Monday, with a full 28-piece orchestra on stage, we will live action stage this thing and marry our movements on stage to the length of all the accompaniment that they created. Now, there'll be some extra music that they had to cut because of the constraints of television. So, and no one's ever heard this music live, and some of it's really beautiful. And I thought I had not seen this before, and I've heard so many people come up to me and say, I heard you're doing this thing, that's the best Christmas Carol ever, that's my favorite, that's the one. I'm like, it's an animated Christmas. And as soon as they played the music, it was like...
Seemed familiar to you?
It was definitely familiar. It was like lodged somewhere between my amygdala and my cerebellum. Like
you're
a
the
little...
first person who's mentioned amygdala on the Global Voice Project.
Well, we're going for a high-end audience. It's like a strawberry seed, like lodged in your gums. It's back there, and as soon as they played the music, I was like, oh my God, I know this. Razzleberry, what?
What?
And so it's been fun. We just started Monday, and the way things go in New York now, everything gets squeezed, whether it's a workshop or a reading. So in 1 week, all these great, wonderful actors will come in to the studio, and they're very organized, the Actors Fund. They've done this a lot, and they'll do it. Now, you might say, what are you playing in it?
What are you playing in it, Dick? Although I know the answer.
Well done, sir.
Yes.
I'm playing Mr. Magoo. Now, you might say,
really?
Doesn't seem like the best idea. Which is what I said. Anyway, we'll see what happens. They just wanted to do it, and they thought it was more important that whatever they feel like I bring to the project, I was happy to do that as a benefit for the Actors Fund, because they do great things.
You also might be being a little humble, because even though you have your dashing leading man looks, you're known to be quite a comedian. You're a
that's very
well-known comic actor.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Perhaps that is what's...
I love hearing that.
That's of course true.
In the light of the passing of Mike Nichols, who cast me in his Spamalot, which was, one of the great triumphs of my life, that he would choose me.
Yes.
It's a great feather in my genitals. Pocket.
Front pocket, ascot pocket. And for anyone who might not know, although I can't imagine anybody watching my show that wouldn't, but Douglas was the original SCARLET PIMPERNEL in the Broadway production of SCARLET PIMPERNEL. Recently, this last weekend, you just did a big production of my favorite year, playing Alan Swan.
Yeah, the York Theater here in New York does these musicals for mufti, they call it. And Stephen Aaron and Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens had been working on their piece since the 90s when it first got done, and it wasn't ultimately successful, and they felt they understood some of the reasons, and they wanted to take another crack at it. So they got together with New York, and it was a wonderful cast. But again, squashed into 4 days rehearsal, a full musical. Now, granted, you're supposed to carry your books, which we did, but it's very difficult to give it a strong reading without really knowing the material, knowing the givens, knowing the objectives in the scene. I know it's hard, but if they start to stage it, you want to be off book. So there's always that stress a little bit. But this cast was incredible. Richard Kind, who's an amazing comedic actor, and a wonderful young guy named Adam Chandler Beira, I think he pronounces it, who was in Rent and Peter and the Starcatcher and Normal Heart. And Rose Hemingway was the other female lead, and Leslie Kritzer was in it, and Christine Petty. Excuse me. It was a really wonderful cast, and the chaos of the rehearsal was really countered by how strong the presentation was. I was shocked. I mean, I've been doing it a long time. I thought it never occurred to me we would have that kind of thing turn out and have the audience respond the way they did. But it was a very strong weekend and fun and interesting and fascinating to learn how you learn it, because you're still in the process of absorbing it so intensely when you're doing it in front of people in that very truncated form.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, the last time I saw you on a stage, and you were absolutely brilliant, was in the national tour of Addams Family. Schmadams Family.
The Schmadams Family. Right.
Where he was Gomez. And once again, that was a little bit of a surprise casting, and you were hilarious.
Thank you.
You were amazing.
That was interesting how that came about. The producer, Stuart Oken, called me when I was doing a new musical for Sergio Trujillo. Sergio was the choreographer of Addams Family, but this particular show I was working on is called White Noise, and it was Sergio's directorial debut, and we were doing it in Chicago. And the producer of Addams Family called, and he said, "Would you consider this?" And I said, "No, I'm not going out on tour. I'm 35 years old now.
I have to rest."
I thought, I don't really want to go out on tour. And in addition, first of all, the show, frankly, to be unpleasantly honest, I didn't think the show was terribly successful for the audience as an experience. And I thought, if Nathan Lane couldn't make it work, plus who wants to follow Nathan? And in addition, on top of all that, I'm not a Nathan Lane type. So I said no. And my partner at the time, of a long time, who you're very close friends with, and all of you probably know, Todd Murray.
Mr. Todd Murray.
Who's a wonderful performer. Who's the dream? He's the dreamiest.
Yeah.
He said, "Douglas, I think you should think twice about this." And we talked a little bit about it and how it would take me away from home. And I thought, well, okay. And I had another discussion with Stuart. And the important thing that came out of it when I called the producer back was they said, "No, we know it didn't work, and we feel strongly about taking another crack at it. Why don't you let me show you the version of the script we'd like to start with at least?" And we really see the characters different than we feel it's elastic enough to take on a different portrayal. And we understand that you're not Nathan. We don't want you to be Nathan. And I talked to the very experienced comedic director, Jerry Zaks, who I had done Little Shop of Horrors for. And I was convinced that everybody wanted to take a new shot at it, and in a way I was honored that they wanted me to do that for them, because they know I'm not going to just follow directions. I'm going to bring something of my own.
It brought so much to the show to have your leading man, persona as Gomez.
That's
I thought it really, tent-poled the show differently.
Well, they also rewrote it so the structure of the piece suddenly became about Morticia and Gomez as opposed to the children. Anyway, it turned out very well. They were extremely happy. There was a great deal of new music material, all new book, and it is in fact the edition of the show that's published. And it is in fact the edition of the show that people are doing now, that is being done in Mexico, that was done in Brazil, in Argentina, I think Japan, they think maybe London, Australia did it, and that's the version they've been doing. So, it was a great honor to be linked to sort of the resurrection of that brand, because the Addams Family, it was a little, it wasn't a successful outgoing for anybody involved. I think there were a lot of reasons, which could take up a whole program, but I think they're very happy with what they're left with, including, by the way, I should mention, Andrew Lippa, who wrote the score and wrote some new material for me, who he's a Detroiter.
Yeah,
as I am.
Big D.
Yeah.
And that show also was the impetus of another wonderful experience I had with you in terms of I coach a few teenage girls that are real talented, little powerhouse coming up. And one of them is a rabid Douglas Sills fan, Alexandra Theodora Spurlock. And so when I happened to mention that I knew you, she lost her mind. And I invited you I asked you if I could invite them to come meet you after the show. And not, it was a 5-show weekend, right? Or 4-show weekend.
No, 5-show weekend, yeah.
5-show weekend. And you met us backstage, and I think I'd asked you if I could bring 2, and I ended up with like 6. And you, rather than just like saying, hello, I'm Douglas, you've met me, go away now, you took those girls on like a 40-minute tour of the Pantages Theater, every floor, the makeup department, the hair department, the props, this is the secret door. That was so amazing, and you gave them a little tutorial on being a working actor.
Did I? I don't think it was as generous as you think.
Oh, it was.
And I'll tell you what was so insidious about my plan. It was an evil plan I remember the first time I went backstage. And in a way, it was a bit like flypaper. Once that happens, if you have any inclination towards it, you're stuck. You're hopelessly. And my goal in doing that was to addict these ladies to the theater, both as patrons, as audience members, and as performers or producers, whatever they're going to be. I knew that I had a chance to lock on to and contaminate the minds of more people. So I thought, I'll put in a half hour and maybe they'll be addicted to the theater.
You did it.
Good.
You enrolled.
I'm glad.
Absolutely. Now, the only other thing I knew that I wanted to ask you about is, we've known each other for a while. As you say, I'm very good friends with Todd. And it's interesting to me because you're considered by so many to be one of the best singers around. You're a glorious singer, beautiful singer. But I know that it's something that you don't really consider yourself a singer. You think more of being an actor. So there have been times that I've like said, oh, Doug, come be in this thing or be in this concert or be in this cabaret. And you're like, no, I never sing out of context. So tell us a little bit about that. I think that's interesting.
Well, I did try it. It's not like I just put up this rule, and I just found it didn't give me pleasure. And after some notoriety came to me, which was, totally by good fortune, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. I got an opportunity to sing with symphonies, and I did that a couple times, and I just found that it didn't bring me pleasure. It brought me a great deal of stress and heavy cortisol and adrenaline, and I found I was not. It wasn't fun, and I didn't have a great experience, and I wasn't able to communicate that joy in performing. And I watched some others, and I thought that they do that well. Others of my peers. I appeared with the Boston Pops for PBS once with a great group, Audra and Ron Raines and Mary Testa and Lilias White and Rebecca Luker and me. Mm. And it was a great group with a fantastic orchestra for PBS. And while I think I did fine, that seemed to be a good place to end that. So, because of my partnership with Todd, I learned a lot about cabaret, which is an art form I didn't feel a tremendous kinship with. And I recognized how many different subsets within cabaret and how different people's appraisals of the art form and their tastes can be expressed within the boundaries of cabaret, whether it's more entertainment-oriented, whether it's more personal stories, whether it's more spoken word. It's as elastic, again, as people's imagination. So I did develop an appreciation for it, but I've never found an idea or a premise that I said, oh, that's interesting to me. I would like to do something like that. Mm-hmm. For me, performing, I feel like what I have understood about myself is performing is about the synergy of other performers being with me and how the addition of all these people is greater than the sum of its parts. And that special magic is what I really long for. And also rehearsal. So many of the things that you've asked me to do, you sort of have to have a book of things ready. That's the ideal way. And you come in and you say, sure, I'll do a song for you. Right. And again, in terms of being a singer or considering yourself a singer, it's more of a state of mind than an actual empirical, do you have a voice or not. I find that people who sing in the shower, those are singers. People who feel most fully expressed singing. Mm-hmm. Now, I've had some incredible moments of expression and ecstasy, frankly, singing. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful. But it's stressful for me, and it doesn't come easily. And I found that my entry into singing is all. That's an obscene gesture.
Really?
I can't believe I just
Watch
did that.
those hands.
My entry into singing is through the character, and when the character is expressed, and when the character needs to sing, and what is he trying to say? Now, the truth is if I was hearing that, I would say, well, that's cabaret. You can do that in cabaret. You just put yourself in the circumstance, and you do it that way. So it's really a lame excuse, but that's been my experience. And with the advent of 54 Below, I have started to think, I wonder if there's something that I would like to do, but it always feels, forgive the expression, masturbatory. It feels self-indulgent. So not to watch other people do it, but for me, I never felt like I had something important enough to say that I would want to hear it. So who knows what the future will bring, but I'm certainly open to ideas, and I'm always thinking about it.
You know, you did do one show for me. I did a benefit concert in LA a few years back, and you very happily agreed to come do it, and you did soliloquy. And I'm telling you, stunned. It was like the most profound performance of soliloquy I've ever seen. It was so awesome.
That was
I mean,
a lot.
Aside from the fact that it was so amazingly sung, it was as you were a character. You know, you were a human being.
Well, that's like a heroic thing.
reality.
You know, that's the climax or a climax of that piece, and it's fascinating to work on. You work on it as a monologue, like a Shakespearean monologue. And my background is, I went to a graduate theater program, and if you dissect it and take it apart and look at the givens and the circumstances of the piece, you know, this is a tremendous moment in this person's life, and it's so beautifully expressed in the melody and the keys and the change in harmonies. So in that sense, it was wonderfully challenging, and it gave me an excuse to work on it. But I also remember something else I thought I did with you, where Todd and I sang together.
Yes, you did. You did Old Fashioned Wedding put together with My Romance.
My Romance, and that was fun because we didn't really sing together much.
Yeah, which was very cool.
So that was fun. So
Yeah.
I've done it a couple times, and mostly happily, but you know, the sound system is different in every room. That can be kind of throw you off. Is it wet? Is it a dry sound? How does you know? I think if I did it every day, and I know a lot of cabaret people feel this way, that I would develop a warmth for it. There would be you know, like when a wagon goes down a road, you start to get a rut where the wheels are, and there would be a comfort in it. But there are so few places and opportunities where you can do something every day for a couple months. I mean, Bobby Short, who's done it since, who gets to do it? So it's a very, it's like lightning in a bottle, good cabaret. You know, you have to have it ready. And I just think the people that do it well.
Well, I like the idea that maybe there's hope that somewhere down the road.
There's always hope.
There's a canvas.
You know, I've had a lot of life changes recently. I'm an orphan now. My mom passed.
Oh.
Todd and I have split, happily, friendly, but I'm on my own. And it makes you rethink your life, and you think, what was I holding on to these stupid precepts for? So everything is always in motion, and there could easily be something. So I'm at a different place in my life. The parts that I get because of this white hair, that's changed a little bit. And I think you just have to be ready as an artist to take it as it's coming in. It's a little off topic, but I went to see this art exhibit at Pace Gallery here. They're doing Picasso paintings from the last 20 years, just of his last wife. And there's must be 20 paintings in there. And they're just the most extraordinary things. You just can't believe it. They're so impactful. And this was his last marriage. This was like the last part of his life. He had already done so much. I think that there's room for blossoming, I hope, and new things to happen, new buds to come off of the tree at any point in life. So I hope that I'm going to be surprised by a lot of things that go on in the next period of time. I'm more permanently in New York now. I'm doing workshop after reading after workshop. I just did a spoof of The Shining. Jack Nicholson and Alice Ripley played the Shelley Duvall part, and it was hysterical. But, I'm doing so many pieces, and it definitely keeps you in shape.
So Act 2 is looking pretty great.
I think it's more like, if it's a 5-act play, it's the middle of the second. I don't know what it is. Right. I don't know.
Well, we got to get you back to rehearsals. So thank you so much, Douglas.
This is the man who's single-handedly keeping cabaret alive, certainly on the West Coast. And we're incredibly lucky to have you as a resource, as a teacher, as a mentor, to bring new people to the art form, and to do things like this, where you extend yourself in a situation that is not necessarily financially remunerative. And I'm grateful to you for doing it. So
thank you, Douglas.
Thank you.
Can I hug you?
Yeah.
Bye. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like it and feel free to share it. And if you're new to this page, click on my face and subscribe. And also, please make sure to leave a comment and let me know what you want to hear more about in the world of Cabarabia. Broadway, jazz, pop, the new Barbra Streisand record, whatever you want to talk about.